Hello everybody and welcome back to part 2 of completing Elden Ring at level 1 without being good at the game. In the last video you guys saw me somehow slug through a Radon fight and also watch the most exhilarating gameplay ever. Now I said it in the last video and I'll say it again, please go check out Iron Pineapple's video. He's what inspired me to start doing this challenge. Very good video. If you have the time, please go check it out. But it's time to start off exactly where we left off last time, and that's the aftermath of the Radon boss fight. I talked to Blythe and it was finally time to head to Nokron, but before we went there, a sacrifice had to be made.
Was my whole existence just a crop?
After the death of a friend, we got the Warrior Jar Shard, which increases the power of our Ashes of War. However, I got the Shard of Alexander, which is way better than this one if I didn't kill Alexander until after I did his questline, so that was a mistake on my behalf. We made it to Nokron and got the Great Shield Soldier Ashes, which will become incredibly useful as this game goes on because they can take so many hits without dying. Before advancing in Nokron, I decided to make it to the capital of Lindell, but to get in there I have to kill the Dragonic Tree Sentinel, so instead of fighting him straight up, I just stayed behind him for 16 minutes and cast Poison Mist until he died. Remember, this run isn't about being good, it's proving the average player can complete this game at level 1 by any means necessary. After I was inside the capital, I was ready to fight Morgoth, but I forgot that there was a boss you had to fight before him, Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. This version of Godfrey was incredibly easy. Sometimes he'll do this move where he jumps up and throws his axe at you. If you cast your Great Shield Soldiers, they'll trap him in the corner and you can do Ghost Flame Ignition until he dies. Nothing really to talk about on this fight. If he gets trapped in the corner with the Great Shield Soldiers, he will basically be dead. I got it on my second try and it was pretty easy. And with the death of the Golden Godfrey, I officially got my 4th talisman pouch, which is incredibly helpful because now we can have all 4 talismans. Next up we're talking about is Morgoth. And Morgoth was pretty easy because not only can you obviously use your summons, you can also summon in Melanet, which I don't know if a lot of you guys know that, basically making this a 1v7. And on top of all that, you can even use Margit's Shackle on Morgoth, which is so good because it binds him to the ground for a couple seconds and you can get a few free hits off. Phase 2 was a little bit harder, but not by much. It was still pretty easy. He ended up killing most of my summons, but as long as Melina was here, she could keep him distracted and I'd get a few heavy attacks off. Sometimes I could cast Ghost Flame Ignition, which would do so much damage to him. With Morgoth being dead and me unable to enter the Erd Tree, it was time to go to the mountaintop of the Giants. But first I was going to complete the White Mask Vari quest to get to the Mogwin Palace. And all I was going to do here is just loot this chest and get the Ancient Dragon Somber Smithing Stone. And with that I can finally max out my Death's Poker. With my Death Poker upgraded, I thought maybe I should just advance more in Nokron, so I did the Valiant Gargoyles because I thought it was for Randy's questline. I'm pretty sure though it's not for Randy's questline, so this was an hour of suffering for no reason. After realising my mistake, I went and got the Finger Slayer Blade to give to Ronnie to advance her questline. I did the rest of Randy's questline to make it to Astel, Natural Born of the Void, and this may be my least favourite boss in the game now. In this fight, summons really weren't that helpful and my Death Poker really didn't work that much because most of his body's off the ground, so I'd be able to get one initial hit on him but the rest just wouldn't do much damage. I decided instead to go fight the Fire Giant, and while he had a lot more health, he was easier to dodge, and if you get off your horse at the right time, your character will be unable to take any damage for a short period while you're getting off the horse. Even though he was easier to dodge, the Fire Giant was still super hard and I really couldn't get it. This was the closest I've ever got to giving up on this challenge because these two bosses had me stuck for a week straight. After a week of struggling on this boss fight, I found a video from a YouTuber called Nah Gaming called Can an Idiot Beat Elden Ring at level 1. Not only is this video super well made, I would not be able to make it as far in this challenge as I did without the help of this video, so please go check out this video and support Nah Gaming. You can see from this clip of the video how insane the damage is from the Great Sword with the Ash of War Lion's Claw, so this is exactly what we're going to need to be able to beat Astel. Now I already had the Great Sword and the Lion's Claw Ash of War, but there's a few more items that I need to be able to properly wield the Great Sword. First I would need to kill this mage to get the Jaime Glintstone Crown, which increases my strength by 2. Next it was back to Fort Gale to get the Star Scourge Heirloom, and this would increase my strength by 5. Now all of this mixed with the Radagon Sword Seal gave me just enough strength to be able to wield this weapon two-handed. Now after upgrading this weapon all the way to level 18, now it was finally time to go and beat Astel. Even after getting this weapon, I was still struggling a lot in this fight as I'd get one-shotted most of the time by Astel. But then I had an idea. Why don't I go to the Weeping Peninsula and kill the Erd Tree avatar there? And by doing this, I got the Opalian Bubble Tear, which essentially lets me take one free hit. So now not every boss is going to one-shot me. After a week of trying this boss, I had most of his moves down. I knew which moves I needed to dodge, which I needed to run away from, and which I needed to just pray that I didn't die. And after all that, most of these moves I knew exactly the perfect time to dodge. So after a few attempts with this new strategy, I was finally able to be Astal, Natural Born of the Void. This is the first boss in this whole run that I felt like I genuinely earned. Even with all the videos I looked at to help me, I felt like I earned it with this boss. So I was dedicated to see this challenge to the end now and not give up. And with Astal dead, this marks the end of the Rani questline, and now I can move on to the Fire Giant. But before that, I did the Volcano Manor questline to get the Serpent Hunter Spear, because this weapon, even when you're not using it on Rykard, is still insanely powerful. Next, I'm going to fight Electo Black Knife Ringleader, and if you bring him right here, then I don't know what it is, but his AI gets bugged and he won't be able to fight back. After defeating him, I was able to get the Black Knife Tish summon, which will become so useful as this goes on, because this is such an amazing summon to have. Now, I actually didn't have enough FP to use Black Knife Tish, but if you get the Cerulean Hidden Tier, what this essentially does for a short period of time is it essentially gives you unlimited FP, and it also lets you use summons or spells that are above the maximum FP you already have. And with all of that at my disposal, the Fire Giant became much easier. As long as I kept attacking his weak spot, I do so much damage, and Black Knife Tish was very useful during this boss fight. And phase 2 was even easier because most of the work was already done for me. Black Knife Tish had one attack that drained the Fire Giant's health in seconds. All I really did was run away and be a distraction, while Black Knife Tish would just destroy the Fire Giant's health bar and occasionally go in for 1 or 2 hits. And using this strategy, it worked, and Black Knife Tish was eventually able to kill the Fire Giant, the boss that I was stuck on for a week straight. I was finally able to move on. After this, Melina burnt the Erd Tree, and I woke up in Farum Azula. Now, once I reached Farum Azula, there was one boss that had me worried that I want to throw my controller into my TV screen. And I think everyone knows what that boss I'm talking about is. The God-forsaken Godskin duo. This was a boss that I was very stressed for, because I didn't know how I was going to deal with this. But to my surprise, this boss was pretty easy. Now, outside the boss room there's this gold summon sign, and I'm pretty sure this is here because I joined the Volcano Manor, but I haven't killed Rykard. After summoning him in, I need to run to the left and get behind one of these pillars and use my flask. After using my flask, I need to summon in Black Knife Tish. Now after this, I needed to distract half of the Godskin duo, usually the Godskin Noble, and then my summons would kill the other half of the Godskin duo. Now if everything went right and the other half of the Godskin duo was dead, it would be all of us three versus the Godskin Noble. Now in the end, it was just me and Burnhall after Black Knife Tish died, and this was really close because he was about to die, but so was the Godskin duos. But we got really lucky here because he was able to stagger one of the Godskin duo, and he ended up killing them after that. In short, I did this by being a coward, but it worked and I got it on my 10th attempt. Before moving on to Malekith, I needed to kill Rykard so I could unlock the Burnhall boss fight. But there's nothing really to talk about here. I have a weapon that's +9 upgrade that's specifically designed to kill this boss. I got it on my 3rd attempt and this was really easy. After that, I want to kill Burnhall with the Blasphemous Claw, which will become so vital for the Malekith boss fight. Now it's time for Malekith, and this was another boss that really had me worried because I thought it was going to be a lot harder than it was. But just like the Godskin duo, this boss was really easy. Now if I go behind this pillar, he won't be able to hit me, so what I do here is I drink my flask and summon Black Knife Tish. After this, Black Knife Tish will 1v1 him, and Black Knife Tish will be able to get him down to his phase 2 pretty easily. After he turns into Malekith, I still let him and Black Knife Tish fight. Usually Black Knife Tish will end up dying here, so I let them fight to the death. Black Knife Tish will do a lot of damage to him, but eventually he'll end up dying, so when Malekith turns to you, all I have to do is wait until his blade turns gold and use Blasphemous Claw and he'll get stunned for a little while. After this, I just hit him a little bit and he died. I was stressed for no reason this boss fight, it ended up being really easy. And you could say this is a little bit cowardly, but at the end of the day, I'm the coward who won, so it doesn't really matter to me. With Gideon, there was nothing really to talk about. I just used Black Knife Tish and Ghostfire Ignition. I got him on my 3rd try. Really nothing to talk about. I'm just going to skip past him real quick just to get onto the other bosses. Finally, now we're on to Godfrey, the first Elden Lord, and this boss was insanely tough. Unlike the gold version of Godfrey, this version was way faster and his attacks were way more unpredictable. And once his health got low enough, he liked to spam out this move, where he stomps the ground and makes a shockwave. It was pretty predictable, but sometimes it would catch me off guard, so it was kind of a skill issue on my behalf, but I did die a lot to this move. But then I remembered the exact way I beat Golden Godfrey. I got to do the exact same axe move to get him into the corner, and I got the Great Shield Soldiers to trap him in while I spammed Ghost Flame Ignition. And with this new strategy, I was consistently able to get into the second phase, but when I get him into the second phase, he becomes even more unpredictable. In the end though, I got insanely lucky. My Great Shield Soldiers were able to trap him in the center while I spammed Ghost Flame Ignition, and eventually he finally died. With Godfrey dead, there's one more boss in my way that I need to defeat to finally be able to complete this run. Now Radagon by himself is completely fine, completely doable. I've died to this guy so many times I probably know his entire moveset by now. And after doing this boss for a while, I was able to beat Radagon pretty consistently and get him down to a second phase. But once it's time for the Elden Beast fight, this gets a lot more difficult. When he starts off though, he'll most likely do this flame attack. If he does this, I can get behind him and I can cast Ghost Flame Ignition, and this will be so much free damage. Occasionally I can cast it twice, but if I get really lucky I can cast a third Ghost Flame Ignition. But if I make the tiniest mistake in this boss fight, even if I turn too early, I'll be sent all the way back to the Radagon boss fight. Now the start of the Radagon fight would usually be the exact same every time around. Tish would do this red blade slash attack thing, I don't know what it's called, and it would do so much damage, and I'd cast Ghost Flame Ignition and make him walk through all the flame. And after walking for just a little while, it does so much damage to him, and we can get him consistently to around half-ish health just by doing this. After that initial bit of crazy damage that I'd end up doing, from there on it was just dodging all of his attacks and casting Ghost Flame Ignition whenever I had the chance. Just like in the Radagon fight, Tish would usually use this exact same move, and then I'd go behind and I'd use Ghost Flame Ignition. This would lead to some crazy damage on the Elden Beast, so this was a really good start if we could ever get this off perfectly. Some of the moves are actually pretty easy to deal with. If he goes for any attacks with sword, just like the Fire Giant fight, you can get off the horse and you won't take any damage. Now if he does this move right here, if you get turned out and spin in a circle, he won't be able to hit you with it. However, if there's any time that I was not on the horse, usually I'd either forget to dodge or I'd try to go for Ghost Flame Ignition and just end up dying. Now by no means does that mean this boss was easy. Yes, some of the attacks were very easy to deal with, but there was so many that would catch me off guard, or I just would not know how to dodge and I'd end up dying and being sent straight back to the Radagon boss fight. But eventually after a while there's a sort of rhythm to it that I was starting to understand, and the last 3 fights before this, I was consistently getting them down to at least a quarter health. And after hours of attempting this boss, I seen my moment. I got off the horse and I casted Ghost Flame Ignition, and I may have ended up dying, but it doesn't matter because the boss was dead. The Elden Beast was defeated. And with all of that said and done, Elden Ring is done. The challenge is done. I have completed Elden Ring at level 1 while being the most average of average players ever. But there was something that was about to make this moment even better. So was this video a way to challenge myself and get the Platinum Trophy? Yes, but it was also a way to prove that the most average of players can complete this game at level 1. But that's everything. One last stat check just to prove that I was level 1 on this boss fight. Big shout out to Iron Pineapple and Nah Yeah Nah Gaming. Please go check out their videos. I'm gonna leave them at the end of this video. Both very well made. Please go check them out and give them so much love and support. But with nothing else to say, that's it. The challenge is completed. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.